How do you read anyone, anytime? You see, one of the most valuable skills that you can master in life and business is the ability to read people. You see, over the years, I've met so many people. I cannot tell you how many people are absolutely clueless. They don't know how to read people, they don't know how to ask questions, and they have no clue. You see, as a global educator, as a businessman, I have to have the ability to read people just because I meet so many people every single day. I've met thousands and thousands and thousands of people face to face. And today I also have my executive director, Desmond Soon, joining me because I think Desmond is such a super connector. He is also very good at reading people. Very often he would go out there and he would actually do a lot of the meeting on my behalf. So Desmond, maybe also give our audience a little bit about your background, because he's got a fascinating background, by the way.
I'm honored, thank you very much. Sifu Dan Lok, right? You know me, I call him Sifu Dan Lok. And really, behind the scenes, I'm known as sort of the happy Hogan. I'd like to be Pepper Potts, but that role goes to Jenny, and I'm not as beautiful as Pepper Potts. So that goes to Jenny. I'm the happy Hogan to Tony Stark over here. And it's a true honor to work with and to just be mentored and just partnered with Dan Lok. So I guess maybe a bit about my background, like how I got into this. I started off at a very young age. I was very fortunate to get into the hospitality industry, the hotels here in Vancouver, British Columbia. And I rose in the ranks very quickly to being a bell captain and then a concierge in training. And the concierge in training really taught me how to, I still speak very fast, and my personality is, I tend to be very extroverted. So one of my first mentors told me how to slow down, how to articulate my words. And then from doing that, I started to associate and mingle with some of the most wealthy, the richest people in Vancouver, the billionaires, the millionaires. And it forced me to speak to them on their level.
Yes.
Though they are higher, but they accept you into their inner circle when they can feel that you have the etiquette or the right vernacular to speak with them. So I had to learn that. Now, obviously, they still look at you as someone lower than them, but not just general public.
Yes.
So that was the first experience.
Yes.
And then the second was when I was in Japan. Obviously, the Japanese culture is very polite.
Yes.
I learned a lot about etiquette there. And then I got into the corporate world. So the corporate world with the enterprise companies, the big Fortune 500 companies. I worked at Goldman Sachs. I was at Lehman Brothers the morning they got shut down. I was at high-level consulting firms like McKinsey and Accenture. So there as well, when you're dealing with executives and I was the young guy.
All about connecting and reading people.
I had to learn how to read them, not just be the talker. I had to listen, and I had to. I'm small Asian, and I look young, so I needed to present myself as a more mature, more trustworthy person. And so I had to read their body language and adjust to them to make them like me in a very quick, short period of time. And then I think the third segment of that, where I really learned those skills, I mastered it, was when I had the restaurant business, as well as I moved into the music industry, where I dealt with real life celebrities.
Correct.
So people like Quincy Jones, Little John, most of the big names that were working with Red One Productions at that time,
And you've actually spent a lot of time with the celebrities.
I had to. I was the chaperone for them. I would meet them, greet them. I would actually have to make sure they showed up at shows and didn't party too much or get hungover for the next day. Some of the movie industry or the music industry.
Got a lot of inside stories, by the way.
Which sometimes NDA I might not be able to release everything to you. So I want to respect them. But during that process, I think what I learned was my skill set. If that's what you're interested in learning, is learning how to read people, like Dan has talked about here, and adjusting yourself similar to the concepts taught in maybe Dale Carnegie's book, How to Win Friends and Influence People.
And today what we're going to do is we're going to teach you some of the fundamentals on how to read people that will help you in business or in all areas of your life. Well, first let's define reading people. What does that mean? To me, it's very, very simple. It's by observing people, sometimes from a distance, and knowing something about them, getting a feeling without them telling you.
Yes.
That's it. It's very, very simple. The way they talk, the way they walk, right? The way they stand.
But why is that important? If you're in anything to do with sales or business or negotiating, heck,
or even a relationship.
Yeah, your family. You want to have that upper edge when it comes to negotiating or influencing them.
Correct.
So if you can read them, you have an advantage.
The first thing, eye movement. So when you are communicating, when you're talking with people, look where the eye movement goes. Now, I'll give you a very simple example. If someone is afraid to make kind of direct eye contact with you, like say they're looking down and they're like hiding, they don't want to make eye contact, well, they may be hiding something, they may be shy, they may be intimidated. So if you can see, just look at people's eye movement. Now, if they're looking at the top left corner, what does that mean?
Top left corner means they're trying to remember something.
Yes.
So it could actually be
a memory,
a
memory from the past.
If you ask them a question, who's your favorite, who's your best friend from high school, and they look up to the left, they're probably telling you the truth.
Correct. If they look at the top right corner, what does that mean?
They're constructing an image. Doesn't necessarily mean they're lying, but it's more on the creative side.
They're visualizing something.
Yeah.
Because sometimes they're like this theory, if you're talking to somebody looking at the top right, they're lying. Not necessarily the case. They could be just visualizing.
They could just be visualizing. I'm a very visual person, so sometimes if you're getting me to visualize, say, a concept or a structure or a process, you might see me look to the right. I'm not lying, I'm just visualizing.
What if they're looking at the bottom left corner?
Bottom left is having an internal dialogue. Means that when you could be disagreeing with the person. Your beliefs might be different from what you're hearing, and you're kind of conflicted. I'm being very overly simplistic here. There's lots of books out there and things you can read on it, but for now, this will give you the general understanding.
So if someone is giving you, you're giving them a piece of advice.
Yes.
They're looking kind of like this. Chances are they're kind of disagreeing. You're challenging the existing belief. They're thinking about it. You can see they're like that, right? That's what happened. What about bottom right corner?
Feelings.
Feelings.
Definitely feelings. So especially if you're talking to the opposite sex, and for men, if you're speaking with women,
emotions,
you want to be watching for that, because if they're looking down to the bottom right, they're definitely digging into some deep feelings. So the difference between internal dialogue and feelings. Internal dialogue, feelings.
That's right. So that's eye movement. Number 2, distance. When you're communicating with somebody, if they're like far away, it means they're probably they're not listening, they're not interested in what you have to say. But if they are getting closer and closer as you're talking to them, it means they're responding positively to what you have to say, right?
Yes.
What's the research says?
So remember this number, write this down. 7, 38, and 55.
Correct.
Right? So 7% accounts for the words we actually use.
What you say, the words that you use.
38% accounts for the tonality and how you say it. And then the last 55, the majority of it is actually the physical.
Non-verbal communication.
The non-verbal.
Keep that in mind.
So with 55%, the majority of body language coming from the non-verbal gestures, you have to be very cognizant of that when you are communicating with people in a one-to-one, or even sometimes on a video screen if you're on a teleconference. You want to make sure that the physical gestures you're using, like you can see my hand movements, or in a physical setting, me touching Dan, my knee touching his knee, or maybe he's pulling away from me. Those are very, very important to give you clues and cues how to adjust and match them. But Dan, you also talk about when someone mirrors your body gestures, right?
That's number 3, mirroring.
Yes.
So when you're talking with someone and if you can see that they're trying to mirror your body language, example like this, right? And you can test different things out, or if I'm doing this and this one doing that, it means that this person is trying to establish some kind of bond with me, right? Some kind of rapport with me, right? Or I'm leaning more like this way and he's also doing that, right? That's what I'm talking about. That's all mirroring, right?
I know you do this in negotiations. I've watched you do it.
Correct.
Where you're closing a deal in front of a person, and that person sits back and crosses their legs.
That's correct. And I do
so then you do the same thing as well, right?
That's correct.
And you cross the exact same leg as well.
That's correct. And what's very interesting is you're almost doing this dance. At first, you may be mirroring them, and later on, now when you are leading them, now they're mirroring you without even being conscious about it.
That's right.
So that means you know what, you're building rapport.
Be very careful though. Don't do it so obviously. Do it very blatantly.
Not like this, not like, oh, you do this and then he does that. You like that. No.
That's a kid's game. Don't do that.
No,
that's what my kids do with me.
That's like very stupid. You don't do that, okay? Number 4, head position. Okay? If someone is talking to you and their like chin is up like that, means we're not arrogant, right? They're like, I'm looking down. I don't know if I'm interested in what you have to say, right? Or you notice kind of like what I call the turtle head. They're more like this.
Yeah.
Right.
And they slouch down.
Yeah, that means they could be hiding something. They're afraid. They're scared. Like, I don't know. I'm lying, right? Kids do that all the time. Like, did you do that? Like, I don't know, right? You can see kids are super good, right?
Yes.
You will know. You will read them. Now, sometimes if you see a tilted head, like kind of like this, like, okay, all right. That means they have empathy
Yep.
towards what you're saying, right? If it's like a tilted head with a smile, that's probably like a playful kind of person. That's almost in relationships, that's a flirting kind of like, right?
And it's kind of like they're thinking along with you. So sometimes
That's
you'll see them
right.
go from one side to the other. Yeah, and you'll see them nodding. They'll go, yeah. I see, right?
That's right. Number 5, your arm movement.
Yes.
This is pretty simple. If someone have the arms crossed like that all the time, it means they are trying to protect themselves, right? They're not, they're not, your opinion, what you're saying, they're like, they're shielding from influence.
Right.
This is a very natural position. Or on the other hand, if they're a little bit more open, like this, like, okay, we're talking, that means they're more open to what you are saying, right?
Or even if they lean in, like if
Yes.
they're putting their hands on their chin and they're listening to you. Naturally, with the men and for women, obviously, if a girl's leaning in, means you've got her attention, and if she's playing with her hair, obviously that's a flirting thing. You know, she likes what you're saying. She's interested in what you're saying. So,
And if you can see people sometimes when you're talking, they're playing with their hands too much. Like
Yeah.
this actually means, oh, I like this.
yes.
This is good. I'm excited about this.
Or if
right?
they're thinking, their fingers are
Right?
tinkering,
I'm
like they're
thinking about
tapping.
this. Like, how can I make that happen, right?
If you watch Dan's videos, when he's thinking, he uses his right hand a lot, and he's almost like counting money. You'll see him doing this.
Did you just reveal my secret?
Oh, did I? Maybe that's an Easter egg right there for you. Comment below if you like that.
Yes.
But you will see. Watch these things. Watch for these
Yeah, I
gestures.
do. I think with my hands, especially my right hand.
One of the body gestures, I know goes different from the arms, but it's the legs. If someone's nervous, you know, sometimes they think like ADD or people who are scatterbrained, their leg is going like they're bouncing the knee, they're bouncing the leg. And in Asian culture, that's actually seen as a bad thing.
Bad thing.
You know, I think in any culture, it's a bad thing if you're doing that. It's not very sophisticated. So be mindful of that yourself as well as also the other person. If you're watching and you notice their leg is shaking under the table,
Like this, yeah.
yeah, they're usually thinking about something or they're nervous. They're in a you've got the upper hand on them. Yeah.
Speaking of leg movement, that's the very last tip we have for you is exactly your position. When you're talking to someone, if you can see that they are pointing their knees towards you, they're interested in what you think. This is a great bonding right here. On the other hand, if their knees are more like this way, it's like, that means I want to get out there. And sometimes you'll notice also people's knees and their feet, if it's pointing to the exit,
Yes.
it means they want to get out of there.
Stop talking.
They're like, they want to, so let them go. They want to go. This is very like that kind of movement. So you got to pay attention to that. Where the body language, are they open up to you? Are they talking? If this is like touching, this is very good.
Yes.
Now, not too much. You don't do too much
Right.
of it. But if you want to bond with someone, sometimes you can also just, you know what?
Do a quick test. So what Dan just did there,
Right there.
If you touch, if I suddenly pull back a bit, quickly release. Don't
Right?
touch. That
means
person
it's no
doesn't
good,
like touching.
right?
Yeah.
Or if I shake your hand, if they reach out, that's as good, right?
Yeah,
this is all very, very good. Or sometimes you're talking, you do it very quick like that. Not to man the woman. That's sexual harassment right there.
Right.
But man to man, hey, you know what, buddy? Like that kind of thing.
The pat on the shoulder.
That's perfect.
Thanks. Let's do it. You know, let's go ahead.
That's it. So those are some of the fundamental skills on how to read people. Comment below and let us know what else you